YouTube? Phil at the Backroads Riding Channel coming at you with today's edition of the Daily Slab. I tried recording this earlier, recorded it on my way to work today, and realized that I had my camera set on 120 frames per second, which turned off the image stabilization, so I am re-recording this whole segment. So before we get into any detail on the segment, today is my first day commuting on the bike for this season. Weather's been absolutely crazy, so I haven't been able to get out and commute yet. That's also why I'm behind on my videos. It just hasn't been any days where I could ride. This weekend was the first time in quite a while, 2 weeks. We've had ice, snow, all kinds of junk. Typical Michigan weather. But anyways, today's my first official riding day with my new exhaust. And once this light changes here, we'll give you a little bit of a test of the sound. I'll shut up while it's going. But I really like these Reinhardts. Oh man, 4-inch Reinhardts on 2017 Road King, Milwaukee 8. And they're not over the top loud at all. Got a nice little rumble to them. And we'll get you a good run up to expressway speeds here once we get through this next light. Should only be a couple seconds here. Will not take us long to get through this. And here we go. Too fast here. We're hitting about 65 miles an hour. As you can tell, it's got a really good sound. I really like it. It's nice and clean. It doesn't have that real sharp high-end pop to it that some of the exhaust systems have, which if you like that, that's fine. But for me, especially on a touring bike, I prefer a nice solid sound like these pipes have got, that nice low-end rumble. And I've been really happy with them. I've gone for a couple rides with them, and a couple longer ones, and it didn't irritate me or mess with my ears at all. So go ahead and move the bike on up to 75 miles an hour or so here. So anyways, for those of you who are just joining us, we welcome you to the channel. We encourage you to click subscribe by clicking on that little subscribe button right down there. And if you like this video, click that like button. The more you click that like button, the more we are able to get our content out on YouTube, shows up in the results list better, and we're able to get more people involved in the motorcycling community. So we encourage you to click on that like button. And if you know of people that you think might be interested in the channel, feel free to send them a link. I'll put a link to the channel down in the description. Feel free to copy that and send them out to them if you want to. So anyways, haven't really talked much since last riding season about commuting at all. And I'm going to talk, that's one of the reasons I started doing this in the first place, was to kind of talk about commuting and tips and tricks to surviving the daily commute. So let's just, I guess, talk about, in general, just commuting today. I've talked about this a little bit before, but let's talk about a little more detail. So, a lot of times when people are going to purchase a new motorcycle, I mean, one of the first things that they'll say is, I'll use my bike to commute, and I'll save gasoline, and it'll save me money. And while that is true in some ways, in other ways may not necessarily save you so much money, but you really need to have a mindset if you're going to daily commute. If you are a person who's easily distracted, or just puts their tunes on and just jams out while they're going down the road, I don't know that daily commuting is necessarily for you. When you're commuting, people in general, it seems like, are more aggressive in their driving right now. They definitely are people drive a lot faster than they used to, and even I'm going way faster than I probably should right now. I just don't like hanging out in people's blind spots. But and for those of you who are wondering, if you're watching this, it is legal to pass on the right in Michigan. Every once in a while I'll get a comment about that's illegal to pass on the right. Not here. May not necessarily be the safest thing to do, but it is definitely legal. Anyways, you really have to have a different mindset if you're going to commute on a daily basis. You need to be very aware, very observant. You need to watch what's going on. You need to always be aware of what's happening around you, behind you, in front of you. You've got to pay attention. You got to be able to plan your moves out extensively as you ride. And you need to be able to plan those events, both in, if you're looking at situations that are occurring directly in front of you on the ground, or 25 feet out in front of you, 50 feet out in front of you, a half mile, a mile down the road. You need to pay attention to those marks all the way down at all times. And it keeps you aware, it keeps you able to, or allows you to react to situations that are occurring further down the road much faster than if you're trying to react to something that's occurring directly in front of your bike. It's very easy to get drawn as I'm going to look at just the road in front of me so I can watch for potholes and I won't hit any debris. And you do need to have that in your overall peripheral as you're looking at things, but your eyes need to be up and down the road. So that's one thing to consider. You also need to go into commuting with knowing that regardless of what the advertising is, talking about the lifestyle and freedom on the road, and there's a lot of truth to that. There is a lot of freedom on the road. However, it is more dangerous to ride a motorcycle, and I think most people are aware of that, but I don't know if it really sinks into their psyche that it is more dangerous. You need to, if you're going to commute on a daily basis, you and your family need to be willing to accept the risk of you not coming home that night. And it's just one of those things that's just the way it is if you're going to ride a motorcycle. It's a fact of life. Kind of like if you're going to carry a gun on a regular basis. If you're going to go out and get your concealed carry permit, you're going to carry a gun, you have to accept that you may have to use that weapon. And it's the same thing with riding a motorcycle. You have to accept that there may be an accident that you're not able to avoid. Someone may pull into you. And if you're riding along at 75 miles an hour like I am right now, and you come off your bike, there's a high probability that you will not survive that accident. So, it's just I'm not trying to be morbid or depressing or anything. It's just people need to understand that it's more than just saving gasoline on a motorcycle. I'll admit, I love riding my motorcycle, and I love to commute on my bike, but there are certain days that I will not commute. I mean, this is a Monday. It's April 23rd. I usually do not commute on my motorcycle on a Monday. I used to, but usually for me, Mondays and Fridays, I don't commute anymore. And the reason for that is, Mondays, you got all the people that are hungover, and they're grouchy, and they're nasty on the road, and they take more chances. And then they got the people on Friday who are just rushing to get up north, man. They're trying to beat that traffic, and so just drive really aggressive on Fridays. And it doesn't mean that I won't go out and ride on those days, but I'm more hesitant to go out on Monday and Friday. Maybe that makes me a wimp, and if I am, well then, I'm a wimp. But at least around here, the roads can be very interesting on those days. And it doesn't mean that there's not bad drivers on the other days. I just, at least from what I see and what I observe, it seems to be a little more aggressive. But anyway, so those are the decisions that, I've had to come and accept the fact that I may not be able to ride quite as much as I was. And that's happened over, quite a few years. And as I get older, maybe I just get a little smarter, I don't know. But, so anyways, delving back to the commuting side, that's another thing that'll happen is people will buy a bike that is great for gas mileage. And then most bikes, even a big hog like this bike here, a big old honking engine in it, and it gets bad gas mileage for a bike, but it still gets 35 miles a gallon. You know, which is not that great for a motorcycle, but it's still better than most cars. But the one thing that, you know, for me, if I had a choice, I would have a different bike for commuting. I would like to have a smaller bike that's a little more nimble in traffic. This bike is plenty nimble. I can move it through traffic without any trouble. But I have to work at it. And it's a big bike. You're not going to just horse this bike around like you can some of these smaller bikes. You gotta know the techniques to get the bike to move the way you want it to move. But I would prefer to have a smaller bike. I really kind of miss my Night Rod. That was a great bike, in my opinion, once again, for commuting. Fast, extremely fast, could get you out of trouble and unfortunately get you into trouble. But you know, it had ABS on it, which was really nice. And I'll put a plug in for ABS again. I think I do that regularly anymore. If you're going to buy a big bike, get ABS. Don't mess around. Don't save the $800. It's not worth it. You need to get ABS on your bike. That is the single decision that I regret the most about buying this bike, is deciding to save that $800. It's not worth it. I wish to God I had ABS on this bike. So anyways, sorry, hang on, I gotta try to keep an eye on what's going on here. But one of the things that I used to commute on a Honda Rebel, and so that would be a bike that a lot of people, especially if they're first-time riders, might seriously consider, because they say, hey, it's a 250, plenty of power, especially if they rode 250s on the dirt. You know, got plenty of power, it'll get me down the road. And you know what? It will. That bike carried me 70 miles an hour, no problem. But that's what it was going to carry me at, was 70 miles an hour. You know, I'm a bigger guy. At that time, I weighed probably 250, 260, 6 feet tall. And it was all that bike could do to get me at 70 miles an hour. So I had the throttle pegged all the way home and all the way to work. And which is fine. It's not going to hurt the bike any, but the problem is when you get in situations where I needed to accelerate when I was already running at my highest speed, I couldn't do it. And so there were situations that I would get into where it was somewhat dangerous because I couldn't accelerate out of it. And so I had to go the opposite route, which was to slow down, which is not always the safest thing to do in rush hour traffic. So these are all the things that you need to be paying attention to. Another thing is, I've talked about this in other videos as well, is following distance. You notice I'm leaving some gap between me and this car in front of me, and people are, you know, they'll cut in and out of that gap, and I just have to adjust accordingly. But when I'm riding a motorcycle, and I see guys do this all the time, and I don't understand it, they'll get right up behind the vehicle that's in front of them, and they will tailgate them. And we all do that, okay? I know we're all, you know, Christians and swear that we never tailgate the person in front of us, but we all do it at different times. And we do it because we're trying to let them know that they cut us off, or that they're going too slow and they need to speed up or move over. And so we get that mentality when we're in our car, and then when you switch over to your bike, you have that same mentality. But the problem is you can't see what's coming when that happens. And so in your car, if you can't see what's coming either, but if you hit a semi-tire or a retread that's blown off of a semi-truck, if you hit a retread on your car, yeah, you're going to do some damage to your car, but you're going to pull off to the side of the road and you're going to be fine. If you have a retread come out from underneath the car in front of you and you're going 80 miles an hour on your sport bike or your Harley, that's not going to be a good thing. You know, I don't know what all is going to happen, but it's not going to be pretty, and I really don't want to do that. So you've got to give yourself time to react to the road conditions that are coming from the car in front of you. And even like this morning on the way to work, you know, I was traveling at what I considered a good distance, and all of a sudden there was a pothole, huge pothole, that came out from underneath the car in front of me, and I obviously did not have my distance right, and man, I hit that thing dead on. Now luckily it wasn't one of the ones that was so deep that it swallows your vehicle, but you know, it jolted me pretty good, and it, you know, forced me to say, okay, I need to reevaluate how closely I'm getting onto things here. So and you just got to do that. But so once again, it just comes to paying attention to what's in front of you, what's down the road in front of you, and really keeping your focus on what you're doing. And I mean, you know, even I'll be honest with you, I probably shouldn't be moto vlogging right now because it's, you know, it takes away my attention. But I wanted you to see, you know, what type of traffic you're going to deal with on a regular basis, the types of decisions that you're going to have to make. And the only way I can really show you that is to show you while I'm riding. I don't usually motolog while I'm in heavy traffic like this. I usually try to do it the beginning of my ride or the ends of my ride. So anyways, I want to always encourage people, if they have an interest in motorcycling, I want to encourage them to get out and ride a bike and get out there and get on the road, because it is one of the greatest things in the world to do. But if you are going to commute, man, make sure you accept the responsibilities of commuting on your motorcycle, the responsibilities to yourself to stay safe, the responsibilities to your family so that you come home every night, and take your MSF course. Don't let anybody tell you that that course is not necessary, especially if you're a new rider or you're a rider that's been off a bike for several years. Go take the MSF course. It does not make you less of a man or less of a woman if you go take that course. It's great. It gives you evasion techniques, things that have maybe been developed in the last couple years, new things, new ideas. It's cheap. Most of the time you're paying anywhere from 25 to 50 bucks if you take it at one of like the local colleges or something like that. I mean, you can take the Harley course too, and yeah, it's a little more expensive. But the ones that I've seen, I've not taken that course, the ones that I've seen look like they're pretty solid. They teach the same material. But whatever you decide to do, you should do that before you buy a motorcycle, because it may change what type of bike that you buy. And let's face it, these bikes are expensive enough. You don't want to be going around and buying a new bike every 6 months. You're going to lose all kinds of money if you do that. So, but definitely something that I would highly recommend that you do. So, all right, well, that's going to about wrap it up for me today. This traffic is going to do nothing but get worse. So I'm going to sign off for now. Once again, we encourage you to click on the subscribe button. Join our little community here. I'm trying to get videos out every week. I did miss that the last couple weeks. I apologize for that. Just too busy with work and with riding weather not being what it needed to be. But if you liked the video, click that like button. And for all of you riders out there, stay safe. Keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up. This is Phil at the Back Roads Riding Channel saying peace. And we'll see you in our next video.